Every single day we're surrounded by these powerful forces, aren't we? They're all competing for our allegiance, pushing us to conform, to just fit into the pattern of the world around us. But the book of Romans offers this radical alternative. It says, don't conform, be transformed. So let's really dig into what that means. To really get a handle on this whole transformation idea, we're going to explore two really powerful metaphors from the Apostle Paul. First, we've got the anvil, right, where character is literally forged in fire. And second, we have the olive tree, which shows us that our real strength comes from an unshakable root. And that, right there, is the key. This isn't some abstract, dusty theological textbook. The source material presents Romans as a practical guide, a formation manual, really. It was written for people who were living under immense pressure to just give in and compromise. It's for a faith that gets tested in the real world, not in a classroom. Okay, so let's start with that first image, the anvil. Most of us, when we think about trials, hardships, suffering, our first instinct is to run, right? We see them as things to be avoided at all costs. But Romans gives us a completely different way to look at it. It argues that the hammer of life's trials isn't pointless. Actually, when you meet it with faith, it's formative. It's a tough idea to swallow, isn't it? We kind of want a faith that promises us an easy life, a path of relief and comfort. But then in Romans chapter 5, Paul says something that just stops you in your tracks. He says we can actually rejoice in our sufferings. Why on earth would he say that? Because suffering, when it's endured in faith, is one of the main ways God shapes us. And this progression here, this is everything. See, suffering isn't where the story ends. According to Romans, suffering produces perseverance. That's that grit, that ability to keep going when every part of you wants to quit. And that perseverance, it forges character, the real, deep-down kind that's left when everything else gets stripped away. And from that character, hope is born. So suffering isn't a dead end, it's a catalyst. And let's be clear, this isn't just wishful thinking. Paul says this hope does not put us to shame. It's not going to disappoint you or leave you empty. And why is he so confident? Because it's not anchored in our own strength or in our changing circumstances. No, it's anchored in something permanent, something that can't be shaken. The love of God poured right into our hearts. That's the foundation that holds firm when everything else is falling apart. Okay, so let's move on to our second metaphor and see how this all connects. If suffering is the forge and life is the hammer, what on earth gives a person the strength to endure all that? Well, the answer isn't in trying harder. It's in our foundation, in our root. So in Romans 11, Paul brings up this image of an olive tree. And the principle is so simple, but it's incredibly profound. The health of the branches, the quality of the fruit, it's all determined by the root system hidden underground. What does that mean for us? It means what people see in your public life, the visible fruit, is a direct reflection of your private, foundational beliefs, your private roots. And this chart, it really lays out the choice we're all facing, doesn't it? Are our roots shallow? Are we just conforming on the surface, checking off the religious boxes, focusing on looking good on the outside, and ultimately trusting in our own performance? Or are we cultivating deep roots, the kind that come from real internal transformation, a relationship built on love, and a deep-seated trust in God's faithfulness? And here's the part that changes everything. Our ability to endure, our spiritual strength, it doesn't come from us just gritting our teeth and trying harder. Paul makes it crystal clear, you do not support the root, but the root supports you. We're not sustained by how tightly we can grip onto God. We're sustained by his unbreakable connection to us. So what happens when you're deeply rooted like this? What's the result? What's the fruit of having a foundation built on the unwavering faithfulness of God? Well, it produces an absolutely unshakable security. And this brings us to the triumphant climax of the entire book of Romans, right in chapter 8. Paul just throws down this incredible, defiant question. And this isn't arrogance, it's pure assurance. Think about it. If the God who created the universe is on our side, what enemy, what circumstance, what opposition could possibly win? The logic is just airtight. If God already gave up his own son for us, the most precious gift imaginable, is he really going to hold back on anything else we need? And then, just to make sure we get it, Paul drives this point home. It's like he's a lawyer building an irrefutable case. He starts listing everything you could possibly be afraid of. He goes through all of it. Cosmic forces, the past and the future, spiritual warfare, even death itself. He builds and builds this list to prove one thing. that there is absolutely nothing in all of creation that has the power to cut us off from God's love. And after all of that, after listing every possible threat, here it is, the incredible conclusion. In the face of all those things, we are not just survivors. We're not victims who barely managed to hang on. No, Paul says we are more than conquerors. We are overwhelmingly victorious, not because of our own strength, but through Him who loved us.
So, this is what it all boils down to. The security we can have is unshakable, not because our grip on God is so strong, but because His grip on us is. Our hope, our salvation, it's not based on our up and down performance. It's based on His unchanging, all-powerful character.
So we've walked through this whole journey, right? We've seen how suffering can forge character, and how a deep root in God's faithfulness gives us the strength to endure it all. And it leads to this incredible, unshakable hope, which really brings everything back home to one simple but profound personal question.
What is your root system anchored in? Is it in your own performance? In the shifting sands of culture? In just trying to look good on the outside? Or is it deeply planted in the unshakable, transformative, and conquering love of God? Because in the end, the root determines everything.